Hello everyone, welcome to Daily News Simplified. From today's edition of newspaper, we have come up with 5 topics. The topic which we are going to discuss from the perspective of mains examinations are: first topic is India's ongoing space mission. We will going to see what type of space mission we are going to conduct in near future or what we are going on with. Secondly, we are going to talk about the case for new industrial policy. Why we need industrial policy in this article we are going to see. From the perspective of preliminary discussion, we are going to talk about vaccine-derived polio, a performance to paint, and thirdly, we will conclude our discussion with Tripura Dam is not the cause for flood in Bangladesh region. So let us start our first topic, that is India's ongoing space mission. So why we have taken this article? First of all, one can ask me this question because it is directly mentioned in the UPSC syllabus General Studies paper number 3 that awareness regarding space is needed for this examination. You can see here also that awareness in the field of space is required for this examination. And UPSC in the past has asked number of questions. For example, we have taken 2 questions for showing that this question has been asked in the UPSC in the past. In 2019, they have asked regarding what is India's plan to have its own space station and how will it benefit our space program. And in 2017, they have asked regarding India has achieved remarkable success in unmanned space missions, including the Chandrayaan and Mars orbiter mission, but has not ventured into manned space mission, both in terms of technology and logistics. Explain critically. So you can see that this question has been asked in the UPSC in the past. Why we have taken this topic on 23rd of August, first of all? Because our Prime Minister has declared 23rd August as India's National Space Day, right? That's why we are taking this discussion. So let us start to see what type of space mission we are conducting right now. So let us start with the first topic, that is Chandrayaan 3rd mission, which is very important mission, and our lander Vikram has given us certain findings related to the topsoil of the moon, especially of the southern latitude of the moon. So the first finding is related to regarding the uniformity of the terrain. It states that terrain around Chandrayaan 3rd landing site is fairly uniform. It means they do not have rugged terrain. It also means that Vikram can able to move from one place to another easily. Secondly, it is a very important finding by the lander, that is moon crust was formed layer by layer, which adds weight to the lunar magma ocean hypothesis. There is a hypothesis related to the formation of moon. So what is the hypothesis? Hypothesis states that around 4.5 billion years ago, a Mars-sized asteroid has collided with Earth, leading to the formation of moon. And during that time, the whole moon is covered with magma, right? The whole moon is covered with magma oceans. And eventually, when it start cooling down, it lead to stratification of different layer based on density. It means that the denser material sunk to form the core of the moon, and the lighter material forms the top layer of the moon. It means that the moon is formed layer by layer by eventually because of cooling of that magma ocean. And what lander Vikram has found? It found the composition of the topsoil. The composition of the topsoil can help us to can tell us regarding the density of the top crust. So based on the basis of that constituent of that topsoil, we can able to decipher that the moon is made of different minerals which is formed by layer. For instance, it has stated that around 80 to 90% of the upper crust, it means that this part is composed of iron, magnesium and sodium rocks, and the lower crust is mostly magnesium rich rocks. So this is the important finding which give an evidence to lunar magma ocean hypothesis. Now we will going to see the third finding. The third finding state that the topsoil of the moon has different minerals which generally found in the core or in the mantle. So why such type of dichotomy arrived or has been seen in this part, especially in the southern part of the moon? When we are talking about that, the southern part of the moon, southern latitude we are talking about. So the composition of the topsoil constitutes certain materials which are generally or which are out to be found in the deeper core. Why this mineral has been found here? First, one can ask this question because according to scientists, they state that the asteroid which attacked or which collided with the moon, leading to the formation of Aitken basin is the cause for such intermixing of minerals, and which can be found by Vikram as well, that this the constituent of the topsoil have both lighter as well as denser material on the topsoil. So this is all about the Chandrayaan third mission, which have recently sent its three findings. Now we will move to our second mission, which is very important, that is Aditya L1. It is India's first solar observation mission, right? The satellite is placed in Lagrange L1 point, which helps the satellite to view the sun continuously without any eclipse. So it will help us to understand the various constituent of the moon, constituent of the sun, that is coronal mass injection, and you can also find solar storms. So this type of finding can be deciphered from the observation by Aditya L1, and they have sent certain report related to solar storm in May 2024. Apart from that, they have also tried to decipher the impact of solar coronal mass injection. Coronal mass injection. Let me clear this. Coronal mass ejection. So this is the kind of very strong solar flares which come out from the moon and can hamper various satellite presence near in the whole halo orbit or in the geosynchronous orbit as well. They can create hurdles for especially the satellite like meteorological satellites or observatory satellites. So it becomes very important for us to understand these dynamics in order to protect our asset in the space. Now we will move to our most important mission, that is Gaganyaan mission. It is crew mission, right? We are trying to send few astronauts into the space, especially the low Earth orbit around 400 kilometer, and they can go and move there, and they can live there for certain period of time. And it is a kind of program, it is the first kind of program in which we are going to send humans into the space. For that, we are developing a number of technology. For instance, we are also training our astronaut who are going to go there, especially in Russia as well as USA. And we are also developing one technology which is very important for them, for this program, which will help us to protect the astronaut when they come into the Earth atmosphere. So this technology will be known as crew escape system. You can see here as well, it is a testing vehicle, and it has separated from that the crew escape system has separated from the test vehicle, and they are following in a different trajectory, and there are a number of other technology utilized to reduce the speed of falling so that they can fall easily or without any harm. So this type of technology, if developed or if become very successful, or we are become more confident about this technology, we can able to do this for our space flight mission. And for that, ISRO has planned at least 4 more abort tests in order to test the testing vehicle and especially the crew escape system. Now we will move to our next small satellites, which are very important in order to understand the universe, right? Sorry, let me. So one is ExpoSat. ExpoSat is a X-ray polarization polarimeter mission. Why we are trying to understand the X-ray polarimeter, right? Why we are trying to read this thing? Because when X-ray travel in space, they are electromagnetic. First of all, they are electromagnetic in nature. Electromagnetic in nature means they are going to be influenced by, or they are carrying electric as well as magnetic charges, and they are also going to be influenced by the electric as well as magnetic field present in the space. So when this X-ray are traveling into the space, they are interact with various celestial bodies, which in turn lead to banding of X-ray or scattering of X-ray, right? Scattering of X-ray. And by observing this X-ray, one can understand the interaction of X-ray with other celestial bodies, and at the same time we can also able to decipher the nature of celestial object present in the space, because certain object might have huge magnetic field, some have huge gravitational field, and it can going to impact the X-ray. It may lead to scattering or bending of X-ray, and when we absorb this X-ray, we can able to decipher the nature of the celestial bodies on which this X-ray has been interacted, right? Now we will move to our next topic, that is INSAT 3Ds. Recently we have sent our meteorological satellite into the GSLV in the geosynchronous orbit through geosynchronous launch vehicle, that is GSLV. And it become very important because it enhances our credibility, and it become very important for our future mission, especially NASA ISRO synthetic aperture radar mission, which we are going to launch in 2025. Now we are going to see the reusable launch vehicle. Why we are using this technology? First of all, because when we send or launch our satellite into the space, we cannot able to get anything out of it, because we place the satellite in the orbit. After that vehicle is not for use, and it create a lot of debris in the space, leading to Kepler syndrome, right? So we have to reduce this debris. At the same time, we have to reduce the cost of sending satellite into the space. As you know, number of small and medium industries are trying to launch their satellite into the space to provide certain technological benefit to their operation, and because of this they need certain low cost service where they can send their satellite at a minimal cost. That's why we are trying to develop this reusable launch vehicle, and for that ISRO has tried one one version which is generally a low scale version of reusable launch vehicle, that is known as Pushpak. And this Pushpak has been dropped from the Chinook helicopter after they fall into the Indian Ocean, and be able to collect it back, and we can use in future launches. That's why we are trying to develop our reusable vehicle, and at least we have tested this thing, but we have to test in the original atmosphere as well. And finally we are going to talk about SSLV. it is small scale launch vehicle. The purpose of this launch vehicle is same, that we are trying to send small payload into the space. For that we need low cost, right? We cannot send every time GSLV to send small payloads into the space, because it is very costly for us. For that we are trying to develop, or we have developed actually, small satellite launch vehicles, which will eventually reduce the cost of launching, and at the same time it will also help us to boost our space endeavor. Now we are going to see what ISRO is planning right now. What is the future missions which are pending in front of us? The most important one is India's on space station, that is Bharatiya Antariksh Station, right? We are planning to send it by 2035. It is a very important mission, and UPSC in the past has asked this question: why we are not have this Antariksh station right now? Because we have not developed that much of technology right now in order to send our on space station into the lower Earth orbit. Now we are going to see next generation launch vehicle. So as we know that we have already developed GSLV Mach 3, right? But it has a limitation that it can send a limited amount of payload into the space, right? And for missions like Bharatiya Antariksh mission or any full-fledged mission of moon, where we will able to send our astronaut into the space, for that we need huge payload to send into the space. For that we are trying to develop a new generation launch vehicle, which will be having 3 fuse system. One will be semi-cryogenic, other will be liquid, and finally it will be cryogenic. So if we are able to develop this technology in near future, we can able to send huge payload into the space, and it can also help us to realize the goal of Bharatiya Antariksh Station as well as manned mission to the moon or other celestial bodies. Now we will go to see the administrative part of ISRO. That is, one is NSIL mission. So they have transferred all the commercial activities related to IRSS, that is Indian Remote Sensing Satellite data and products, to NSIL. So NSIL will going to look into the commercial activities related to Indian Remote Sensing Satellite. We have also tried to inculcate private sector into the space technology or activities. One is Agnikul Cosmos, which is very important because they have sent the first semi-cryogenic engine. They have used first semi-cryogenic engine to send one vehicle into the space. Similarly, Skyroot Aerospace is trying to launch its own rocket, that is Vikram 1. Now we will move to very important regulatory institution, that is IN-SPACE. It is a regulatory institution, and for that they have released recently norms, guidelines and procedures for authorization of space activities, right? So they are going to regulate the space activities, and they have also granted first satellite broadband license to one of the private organization, and they have also given license to the ground station for through space, right? So this type of activities are performed by the IN-SPACE. Apart from that, government is also trying to enhance the foreign investment into the space sector of India. However, they have took certain caution. We are going to see what they have taken. They have talked about foreign direct investment, 100% foreign direct investment in all space and space flight segments. However, they are trying to reduce, or they are trying to use both the automatic as well as government route for satellite manufacturing and operations. For that they have given only 74% of the allowance in the foreign direct investment, and for launch infrastructure they have provided 49% of FDI in that areas. So these are the few things related to India's ongoing mission. Now we will move to next topic, that is the case for new industrial policy. Why we have taken this article? First of all, because UPSC in General Studies paper number 3 has directly mentioned the topic, that is changes in industrial policy and their effect on industrial growth. So when we are talking about changes in industrial policy and their impact, we are going to see in this thing how our industrial policy has evolved in a brief. In UPSC in the past, in 2017, has asked one question related to it, that industrial growth rate has lagged behind in the overall growth of GDP in the post-reform period. They are talking about post 1991, right? Give reasons how far the recent changes in industrial policy are capable of increasing the industrial growth. So industrial policy came in I think 8 or 9 years ago, around 2017 or 16. Go and check it and comment in the comment box, right? So on the basis of that, they have asked one question. Now we are going to see what is the case for new industrial policy. First of all, one can think about what is industrial policy. So it is a broad framework on the basis of which various stakeholders take actions, and here government interventions are necessary in order to gauge the trajectory of economy in certain specific area or in order to meet certain objectives, right? So what type of objective industrial policy can meet? It can enhance the growth rate, yes, GDP growth rate. It can talk about productivity. It can also talk about climate transition. As you know, we are facing the brunt of climate right now. So climate transition can be one objective. Other objective will be labor, obviously labor forces, outcomes, their efficiencies, and it can also be export, or many more objective can be there for industrial policies. So that's why we are needing new industrial policy. But what is the defining feature of industrial policy is that it is inherently selectivity. When we are talking about inherent selective, it means that they are preferring one sector over the others. For instance, as you know, that agriculture sector right now is not so much remunerative. So the labor force who are involved in the agriculture sector should shift into the sector which can give them more remunerative jobs, right? For that, government have to nudge the population. For that, they can provide certain incentives or certain benefits to opt certain sectors, and other can be, especially when we are talking about manufacturing sector. So we can think about that thing that we are focusing on one sector, especially the electronic sector and MSME sectors, especially with respect to the technological intensive sectors. Apart from that, we are also focusing on food industries, as we call it as a sunshine industry. So this type of favorable conditions for certain sector bound to create certain trade-off in the economy. For instance, when we are focusing on food sector, especially when we are talking about food industries, so we might neglect the leather industry or other industry. That can be one possibility. I'm not saying that this is the case, but there can be one possibility that if you are focusing on one sector, there is a chances that other sector can be neglected. That's why they are saying that the industrial policy are inherently selective. Why we need industrial policy? Because as you know that if we enhance the government intervention in each and every arena of the economy, it will lead to inefficiencies. It will reduce the competitiveness. It will also not attract the foreign players into the domestic market. And at the same time, our industry itself will not able to enhance their capabilities or their productivity. That's why excessive intervention is not required in any economy. And secondly, when we are talking about free market economy, when we are talking about free market economy, there is also a challenges associated with the free market economy. When we are talking about free market economy, it means that there is a chances that monopolistic tendency can come in the economy. There may be chances that the domestic sector cannot able to compete with the global industries or the large industries. So this type of measures cannot be taken. This cannot be happen due to this free market economy. Apart from that, you know that India follows socialism in one aspect or the other. So when we are talking about the public good, so when we are talking about free market economy, they do not focus on the public goods. They mostly focus on the profit marginalization. They are focusing on more of competitiveness. So this type of free market approach is also not needed in an economy. So that's why we need industrial policy which try to balance this thing. For that there should be a limited government intervention, especially in the form of regulation, and there should also be market based approach. That's why we needing the industrial policy. Now we will move to see the evolution of industrial policy in India. So after reform, after independence, we follow Harold Domer model, where we are talking about building large industries. We do not focus upon the small industries on that time, and at the same time we try to protect our domestic industries from the foreign competition, and that lead to a kind of protectionism in the Indian economy, and which hampered our economic growth, and it hampered our economic development in a very long term. Certain acts, for instance, Industries Development and Regulation Act of 1951 talks about license permit Raj. It means that whatever actions we are trying to do for for setting up industries should be one should take all the permission from the government, right? So when you are going to go for every action to the government, there is a chances that it will be delayed. There is a chances that it will be corrupted. Corruption will occur. So this type of problem is very much common during the license permit Raj, and at the same time it do not attract the foreign investors to come into the country, right? Because they do not want so much of regulations without any objectives. Similarly, Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices MRTP Act of 1969 and FERA Act of 1973 has created a kind of protectionism in our Indian economy, which in turn reduced the investment of the foreign investors, and at the same time it reduced the competitiveness or the capability to compete with the global market related to the small scale industries are left behind, and they not enhanced their capability to fight with the global market, leading to subdued economic and manufacturing activities in our country. However, in the recent, especially after 1991, we have liberalized or we have globalized our economy, and we have followed a balance between limited government regulation and free market and limited market based approach. However, these type of things are challenged day on day, every day, right? Like technological disruptions, like artificial intelligence has changed the manufacturing capabilities of various economies, right? Economic stagnation. There are number of countries undergoing negative economic growth rate, and at the same time, as we have witnessed during the COVID-19 as well, the whole world is stagnant, has stopped during that time, and there are number of geopolitical tension also arriving in the world, leading to twinkling of industrial policy so that we can able to achieve our goal, especially the sustained economic growth rate. Now we are going to see what are the dichotomies in front of developing countries as well as developed countries. So developing countries are generally confused by the Washington consensus, right? Which talk about prudence, which talk about fiscal discipline, reducing public expenditure, focusing more on reducing tariffs, and so on and so forth, right? So this type of measures, if taken by the developing countries, it might hurt their domestic industries. They cannot able to fulfill their welfare obligations as well. And when it comes to developed countries, as you know, their economic growth is hovering around 1 or 2%, and some countries are also facing the negative economic growth rate. So the employment opportunity, especially in the manufacturing sector in the developed countries, become very stagnant, or it reduced significantly, thereby asking both the developing and developed countries to opt for new industrial policy which can adapt into the changing global times. And as you see that recently you have heard about that China has become the world's second largest economy, and it has actually daunted the hegemonic behavior of the Western countries, especially the USA and Europe, which in turn lead to tariffs war. You know, there are number of tariff war went since last of 5 during the Trump era, since Trump era as well. Tariff wars are going on, rise in protectionism, right? So this type of problems world do face because of this rise of China rapid industrialization. And as we have discussed this, as well, that technological changes, especially automation and digitalization, which in turn lead to job losses in the economy. For that, government should intervene and should provide certain measures so that the joblessness in the economy can be reduced, and at the same time the person who are doing job in the manufacturing sector can have proper social security with them. Now we will move why India needs an industrial policy, because as you know that in India's sector, India having around 45 to 50% of the population are still involved in agricultural sector, right? And as you know, agriculture sector is not remunerative. They are growing at a very small rate, that is around 3 to 4%, and they too depend on various factors like monsoons and all, right? We want to shift the population who are involved in the agriculture sector to the manufacturing sector or to the service sector. For that, we need certain intervention, especially the technological transfer, skill development, or creating industries itself. So government intervention is needed. For that, we need a broad industrial policy. Now we are going to see why. As we talked about economic growth, yes, industrial policy in the economic growth generally comes with the enhancement in the industrialization in economy. How industrialization in economy will be enhanced? By research and development, by innovative products, by skilled main force, right? Manpower. So this type of things are needed. For that, proper policies should be there so that we can able to achieve a sustained economic growth in a long term. Secondly, productivity growth. And apart from that, we will also talk about that why we need government intervention for economic growth. Because if government intervene, it will also help us to provide a balanced regional development, because certain areas in our country are lagging in industrial development, whereas certain areas are full with industrial development. We have to create certain parity so that every region of a country should have certain industrial activities going on in that region. For that also, it is a kind of socialist objective of the government, so that we need certain type of industrial policy. Now we will talk about productivity growth. So we need certain process or learnings, skill development, innovations, as well as technology transfer in order to enhance the productivity growth. For that, we'll need certain goals in front of that, and this industrial policy will going to provide us certain goals so that we can able to achieve it in a long or short term. It also helps in removing market imperfection, as we have discussed related to it as well, that when we are talking about free market approach, there we can see that there might be chances that monopolistic tendencies are coming. There might be chances that the domestic industry would suffer. And at the same time, when we are talking about excessive government intervention, which might lead to red tapeism, which might lead to bureaucratic hurdles or regulatory cholesterol, there are a number of problems associated with that. In order to correct this market imperfection, we need certain industrial policy, right? Now we are going to see why we are talking that industrial policy will enhance economic growth, productivity growth, or it will correct the market imperfection. Because China has done it. They have a clear policy, and they focused on high tech industries. So you can see that the semiconductor industries right now is dominated by China. All the rare earth metals are generally dominated by China. So they have their policy intact since a long time, and they have worked on that, and they have achieved this target, and to become a second largest world economy. And similar case with the rapid industrialization in East Asia. When we are talking about East Asia, we are talking about Japan. So they are one of the developed countries. They have low population. At the same time, they are very good with especially the automobile industries. They are good with telecommunication and other industries. Now we are going to talk about very important aspect, why we need economic growth, why we need huge economic growth. Because economic growth impact the national security of a nation. For instance, you can see that USA is the world largest economy, and they enter in everyone's foreign policy. They are twinkling the foreign policy of West Asia, they are twinkling the foreign policy of Europe. As you know, you can see that the NATO discussion is going on. And if such type of economy is present, they will going to hurt the national security of the other countries. In order to protect one's national security, one have to strengthen oneself, and for that, economic growth is one of the important aspect, which in turn will translate into other aspect as well. For instance, if you are increasing the economic growth, we can also enhance our defense capability, we can also enhance our manpower, our human resource capabilities, and these capabilities will able to enhance our say in the global market, which in turn will protect one way or the other our national security. Now we will move to our preliminary discussion. We have taken this article from the Hindu newspaper, and the context of this article is this, that a 2-year-old child in Meghalaya has been infected with vaccine-derived polio. As you know, that polio has been eradicated from India in 2014, if I am not wrong. But still we are finding certain cases of polio. Why? We are going to look into it. What is vaccine-derived polio? This is not a case of wild polio virus. So it is saying that it is not a case of wild polio virus, but an infection that present in some people with low immunity. We are going to see how vaccine-derived polio occur in a human population. So before that, let me talk about regarding the virus. What is the kind of this virus? That is poliomyelitis. It is a single strand. Single strand means single strand RNA virus, right? So you can see that the transmission, especially the transmission, is very important to look into. They transmit through fecal oral route with contaminated water resources, and they can also be infected, or they can also be transmitted through direct contact with the infected individual, right? What is the symptoms of this polio? The most deadly one, the central nervous system attack. It paralyzed the people who are infected from this virus. Headache, fever, difficult breathing. These are small symptoms, but the deadly symptom is the central nervous system attack. The people will not able to walk even. Tiredness can be one. Muscle atrophy, you have seen, it is very common. And limb paralysis, these are very common in case of polio. You might have witnessed in the society, but this one is one of the deadliest one, right? Now we will going to see. However, this virus generally impact the neonatals as well as under 5 childrens, because their immune system was not as much developed on that time, right? There is no as such cure for that. Vaccination is one way in order to protect or prevent the polio, right? Now we are going to see types of polio vaccines. So one is inactivated polio vaccine. What is inactivated polio vaccine? Suppose this is RNA, it might have certain, right, certain chemicals which can lead to polio in one in individual, right? So what scientists are doing, that they are inactivating means they do not have any strength, inactivating this virus, this RNA molecule, through use of formaldehyde or any chemical, right? So this inactivated polio vaccine are generally given to the people or children, right? And when it enters into the body, a systematic immune response occur. A systematic immune response occur, which in turn protect the individual from the main virus when it comes in near future. So they create a kind of memory in the human body, which in turn will help to fight if this person will be impacted by this virus. And second is the oral polio vaccine. So this is the reason, that's why this Meghalaya children was died, because in this they are not inactivating it, it is just decreasing their strength. They are decreasing the strength of this this RNA virus, and they are generally given through oral route because it is easy for mass immunization, right? So that's why they are given through oral route. And when it enters into the body, right, they act like a normal virus, right? And they create immune response, right? And it will be embedded in the memory of that population, and which will eventually counter it. But sometimes what happens, when this inactivated when this weakened virus is given to individual, they mutate and they regain their strength, or even they having the weakened strength, if they regain the strength, it can cause the polio. If it is still weakened virus, but the immune system of that individual is low, then still it can infect that individual. So now we are going to see what is this oral polio vaccine. It's a live attenuated virus. Attenuated means weakened virus, that is used for immunization against the disease. This attenuated virus replicate in the intestines for a limited period and excreted in the stool. And the weakened virus trigger an immune response when it is administered, thus protecting people from the disease. In rare cases, the virus can mutate enough to cause disease again and circulate in areas where either immunization is low, where the vaccine is low, that people are not taken proper vaccine because of various vaccine hesitancy. It can be factor that the people this virus has infected might be immunocompromised, and other can be, as we have seen, that this virus is transmitted through water, like transmitted through contaminated water sources. So sanitation and hygiene, if it is poor, it can also lead to this polio disease. Now we are going to see certain facts related to the spread of, or related to the eradication of polio across the globe. On the World Polio Day in 2019, WHO declared that so there is a 3 type of polio virus, 1, 2 or 3. You can see wild polio virus type 3 has been eradicated worldwide. Wild polio virus type 2 was officially declared eradicated in 2015, and only wild polio virus type 1 remains in circulation. More than 90% of the vaccine-derived polio outbreaks are due to type 2 vax, that is this one, present in the oral polio vaccine. And India was officially declared polio free by World Health Organization in 2014, but still we are getting it. At the same time, I want to tell you that this type of case, especially this case with respect to Meghalaya children, is not considered as a polio disease. It is considered in a different category. It means that still India do not have any cases of polio, especially with respect to this wild polio virus. Now we are going to solve one MCQ, right? So I don't want to give this answer. However, solve this PYQs of 2019. Now we are going to solve the practice question. Consider the following statement with reference to polio. Polio is a highly infectious disease caused by single-stranded RNA virus, right? We have talked about this thing. Polio cannot be transmitted from one person to another person. It can be transferred. We have seen that it can be transferred through contaminated water, fecal oral route, or even there is a direct contact. If it is through direct contact as well, it can be transmitted. So this statement is incorrect. Vaccine-derived polio occurs when the inactivated strain of polio virus regains the ability to cause paralysis. So it is not inactivated, it is weakened or attenuated virus, which lead to this vaccine-derived polio. For this, statement 1 is only correct, so option B is the right answer. Now we'll move to our second topic from the perspective of preliminary examination, that is Kalamezhuthu. So kindly see the pronunciation. I do not able to find this pronunciation. However, whatever I can read is Kalamezhuthu, and it is one of the floor dance in the state of Kerala. We are going to see certain facts related to this this floor dancing. It is also known as Dhuli Chitram or powder drawing. It is a floor art generally done in the floors of the temples during a period known as Kalamezhuthu festival, which is 40-day ritualistic festival celebrated mostly in Bhagavati temples of Kerala. So we are going to also see its ritual significance. It is generally part of a rituals, especially with respect to gods like Kali, Ayyappan, and Vettakukkurum. Sorry, let me clear it. I am not able to read it. Vettakkuramukam. Sorry. Yes. And one of the important aspect of this floor art is that the drawings are erased at the end of the ritual, right? And they are made through natural colors. You can see that what a beautiful floor drawing they have made. Rice flours for white, and you can see that charcoal for black, turmeric powder for yellow, powder green leaves green, and these powder green leaves are used in India since prehistoric times, especially the sites of Lakudiyar and Bhimbetka. You are going to find this powdered green leaves and green leaves or red ochre color, because which is generally derived from natural resources. So this type of things are still used in the contemporary times. It means that we still continuing our cultural legacy, right? Cultural continuity. UPSC in the past has asked related to this aspect, what is cultural continuity, how India able to maintain this cultural continuity. It is a time taken process. Sometimes it takes 2 days to make this art, right? Themes can be showing the expression, especially the anger, grief, happiness, and other emotions. So there are a number of communities involved in this, especially the groups, Nambiyars, Thayadi, Nambiyars, Unnis. Nambiyars are generally the Brahmins of Kerala. So these are the people who are involved in this floor art. Now we are going to solve one. You have to comment in this comment box what is the answer of this PYQ Kalamkari painting. Now we are going to solve this practice question. Consider the following pairs of floor painting and the state they belong to. Appan is also a floor art, but it is from Uttarakhand, right? It is not from Karnataka. Alpana is also a floor art. It is from West Bengal as well as Bangladesh, right? And as we have seen, this Kalamezhuthu is from Kerala, so you can say that option 2 and 3 is correct. It means only 2. How many of this pair? So only 2 pairs are correct and first one is incorrect. Now we will move to our last topic, that is related to one of the important dam, that is Tripura Dam. We will take it briefly because it is not so important, but you have to know because it is in the news. The Ministry of External Affairs on Thursday denied that floods in eastern district of Bangladesh were caused due to the opening of Dumbur Dam in Tripura. So we are going to see certain facts related to this dam. So it is built upon Gumti River, which flows through India and Bangladesh. So this river become important. Go and read about this thing, or if you want to comment in the comment box, kindly comment in the comment box regarding this Gumti River. There is also a hydel project near the lake where river Gomti or Gumti River originates, and it is called as Tirthmukh, right? Every year on the 14th January, famous festival that is post Sanskriti Mela, Sankranti Mela is organized in that region. This lake is the confluence, that the dam on which it was built is a confluence of Raima and Sarma river. There is also one island named as Narkel Kunja, right? And apart from that, this 40 megawatt of power energy is also shared with our neighbor, especially with Bangladesh. Now we are going to solve. You have to still comment. Try to solve this question. We are going to solve this practice question. Practice question is so simple. Dumbur Dam is located on which of the following river? So it is Gomti River. So option C is the correct answer. So that is all from my side. Hope you have enjoyed it. And if you need anything else, kindly comment in the comment box.